On the 24th of January, Palmas, a Brazilian football team, lost four players and its owner in a plane crash on the way to a regional cup game. The cause is unknown and under investigation. However, this plane crash adds to a surprisingly long list of air disasters involving football teams. While some of these disasters, such as the Munich air disaster or the Chapecoense plane crash, are well publicised, this video aims to showcase three air disasters that are lesser known in order to shed light on these tragedies. One of my previous videos about Zambian striker Godfrey Chitulu features the Zambian air tragedy in which Godfrey met his demise, as well as other members of the Zambian football team. So why not check out that video afterwards, and while you're there, drop a like and subscribe too. The Vilico tragedy. Victims of this terrible event were Bolivian side The Strongest, a side with an interesting history. Formed in 1908, relatively early for a South American side, their greatest achievement occurred in 1930, where not only did they go the whole season unbeaten, but they became the first and only Bolivian side not to concede a single goal during a season. The team are also the only club in world football to have a battle named after them. During the Chaco War, a conflict between Bolivia and Paraguay, members of the club enlisted, and a division largely containing these members played a major part in Bolivia's most important victory. In their memory, the battle was named Batalla de Cañada de Strongest. In 1969, the team were invited to play a friendly in Santa Cruz on the 24th of September, with the team flying back on the 26th. Except the team never made it back. 69 passengers died, 20 of those members of the football team, when the plane carrying them crashed into the rural area of Vilico, hence the name of the tragedy. The crash was attributed to pilot error. The response to the crash was quick. Boca Juniors provided two promising youngsters, Luis Bastida and Victor Hugo, on loan. The South American FA donated $2,000, and the proceeds of the infamous Brazilian flu flag derby were donated to The Strongest. Nobody on the plane had survived, but there were three remaining players who, for unknown reasons, did not join the team in their friendly in Santa Cruz, and thus survived. Dnipro mid-air collision. The footballing casualties of this collision were the playing staff and coaches of FC Pakhtor Tashkent. Similarly to The Strongest, there were unique quirks about this club's history, as they were the only Uzbek club to play the top flight of Soviet football, and in 1968 they became the sole Central Asian club to reach the Soviet Cup final, losing 1-0 to Torpedo Moscow. In the 1970s, the club yo-yoed between the top and first divisions, but after promotion in 1979, disaster struck. 14 players, the manager, his assistant, and the club administrator were all killed, as well as 161 others, in a mid-air smash while on the way to play Belarusian side Dynamo Minsk. The actual collision was caused by a string of miscommunications between air traffic control and pilots of two flights. This led to a situation where the air traffic controller averted one collision by ordering flight 7880 upwards, but then put it on a course for a second collision with flight 7680. The controller assumed this had been sorted when a muffled response affirming a second instruction given to ascend to a higher altitude was received. However, the return communication was in fact from a different flight, meaning flight 7680, carrying the Uzbek football team, flew into the right wing of flight 7880, damaging the wing and ripping flight 7680's fuselage in the process. The impact spun the aircraft to the right, causing the two tails to collide and ripping the other right wing of flight 7680. After this, the two planes separated, with the aircraft carrying the football team completely disintegrated, whereas flight 7880 partially regained control and began to attempt an emergency landing, before losing control at 4,000 metres, reducing in a crash which destroyed the aeroplane. An investigation concluded the mistakes of the controllers were the ultimate cause of the crash, sentencing Sumi and Zukovsky, the two overseeing the aircraft, to 15 years in a penal colony. Sumini served 6.5 years before being released on good behaviour, and Zukovsky is reported to have committed suicide. Quite incredibly, the Soviets initially tried to cover up the collision by telling families of the dead that the team had died from food poisoning. It was impossible to stop the truth coming out eventually, but the government's silence on the matter is said to have lasted weeks, if not months. For the football team, they went on as if almost nothing had happened. 12 days later, they played their next game with a team made up of entirely Lonese, losing 3-1 to Arat Yerevan. The crash at the time was the most deadly mid-air collision in history, but was barely noticed, and the same could be said for its impact on the team, as just 3 years later, the club recorded its best ever league finish. CD Green Cross accident. A lot less information is available about this crash than the previous two. The team involved were one of the 8 founding members of the Chilean League, winning their first and only league title in 1945. The accident occurred 16 years later as they flew back from an away game in the Copa del Chile against Osorno, a game that ended in a 1-1 draw. The pilots had reported ice on the wings and propellers while flying over the Chilean Andes, but that was the last heard from the flight. When a search team was sent out, very little remnants of the plane were found until in 2015 when a group of mountaineers found the fuselage. The precise crash site still isn't available to the public though, in order to prevent looting. In the aftermath, there were no positives for the Chilean side. Some players survived as they had flown home on a different, less direct flight, and the club did fulfil the second leg of the cup tie, losing 1-0. The crash badly affected the team and it was relegated that year. The team has since folded at the end of the 1984 season. And there you have it, 3 lesser known footballing air disasters. Hope you enjoyed the video and I'd love to see you next time.